Please have a seat if you would. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and I'm here with Lyndon, Westchester County Legislator, who may be joined in a few minutes by County Legislator Tubiolo for this input meeting from the people of Mount Vernon regarding plans for a memorial field. I'm going to ask you first to stand. And we're going to ask Councilwoman Delia Farquharson to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. We appreciate you coming out on an evening where you could be home with your family and relaxing, watching television, enjoying sports or what else, but we're here because we want to make sure that we have the kind of dialogue with the people of Mount Vernon, whoever is here tonight and whoever wants to comment thereafter regarding our plans for Memorial Field. Westchester County has taken a role to try to help get this project done, and that is the purpose of our being here tonight. The field is owned by the City of Mount Vernon, and the field will be owned by the City of Mount Vernon. It will be managed and operated by the City of Mount Vernon. The county's role here is merely to get the project fixed, done, in a way that makes it a workable field for the people of the City of Mount Vernon. And this isn't unprecedented. Back in 2009, then County Executive Andy Spano and then Mayor Richard made an agreement for the county to identify county funds for help for a renovation of Memorial Field. And that was part of a legacy program that existed where the county government was involved in helping to fund parks all over Westchester County, from Larchmont to Portchester to Valhalla, Peekskill, all across the county. There were different fields that needed to be renovated or new fields created. The county put up a certain amount of money, the local government put up a certain amount of money, and those fields were accomplished around the county. This particular program was originally identified in the original agreement as a $12.7 million project, for which the City of Mount Vernon would put up $3 million, and Westchester County would put up $9.7 million. So the county was putting in a significant amount of money, and then out of that, the overall project would be accomplished. I'm going to introduce some of the electeds who are joining us in a second, but let me just complete the narrative. 10 years later, a year into my tenure in office, we're at a point where we have not accomplished the task at hand, which is to make sure this field is fixed, renovated for the future. What you're going to hear tonight will be a description of the project as it was originally envisioned 10 years ago. And we have with us a representative from Woodard Curran, which you said in a second, who will talk about what that project is. You have a flyer that's at the front table, two-sided flyer that gives you a map of what that plan looks like and what the key design features are. This is a project which is subject to final approval when we discuss this through the City Council and the Mayor of the City of Mount Vernon, as well as the Westchester County officials. So that's why we're all here tonight, to take in the input of residents. The purpose of tonight is to listen to the residents of the city. Now, we're going to also hear from our elected officials, but it's you who want to speak to talk about what you want to see at Memorial Field, so that before any final plans are made, that we know that people have had input. This belongs to the people of the City of Mount Vernon. In a night like tonight, we're not going to comment on suggestions that people make. Someone may say, I want to see a rocket ship there. Well, that's a person's idea if they want a rocket ship there. That's an input. We're not going to try to go back and forth about how practical it is. There is a reality, I'm sure you all know, that there's a certain amount of land down there. And that is what we have to work with in whatever our plans are. There's also a certain amount of money available to us. Aside from the fact that the county put aside $9.7 million for this project, 3.4 of it was forwarded already to the city to start work on the project. The city's commitment originally was $3 million, and New York State, through Senator Gary Pretlow, has made $5 million available to us. The final project, when we get to it, may be more expensive than that, and that's up to the county to figure out how we're going to fund it, work with the city, work with the state, whoever wants to help us out, to make a final project that will be affordable for all of us. As we know what we have right now down there, I'm sure you've walked by it 100 times, I've passed by, we have debris on the field. The debris has to be removed. The City of Mount Vernon has an arrangement with the State Department of Environmental Conservation on how that debris is to be removed, but it is an expensive expensive and long process. Woodard Curran will mention exactly what's involved in that. That's going to be a time-consuming process to make sure the field is clean so that it can be renovated. But that is part of what it's going to take for us to move forward. The most important thing for me to say, then I'll turn it over to Lyndon Williams, and then we'll have comments from the mayor, the other members who are here in elected office. I have a stake in this that's separate from the fact that the county has $9 million plus committed to this project. I grew up in this community 65 years ago, but I grew up in this community. I lived here for 25 years. I'm a graduate of Mount Vernon High School class in 1970. I got my high school diploma on that field. I'd love to tell you that I played high school football. I did not. I was in the marching band. I know that's weak, but that's the truth. And so I wasn't on the field to play football for the Knights. I was on the field to play my instrument and to be part of my high school community in those days. I remember going down to see James Brown in a concert, Richie Havens in a concert. This is way back in the day, but it was a day I remember. And this field is important to the people who live here now, but it's something that I remember from my days. And I want to see whatever time frame we have. I want to see the county and the city be partners. I want to see us finalize a plan that's workable, that actually do it, so that people can have some confidence that things get done. And this is the same strategy that I have in Yonkers for pools that have been closed, the same strategy we have in North White Plains for deteriorating historic home, the same strategy we have elsewhere around this county to fix the things that need to be fixed. We don't need to have a parade about it, just do the job, do it well, do it professionally, and move from there. I'm going to invite County Legislator Lyndon Williams to share some of his thoughts, and then, as I said, we'll introduce the dais and have some comments, and then go to you people to comment.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to, let me thank the county executive and his staff and his team for really dedicating the time and effort, not only tonight, but since he has taken office in January, to try to make sure that this project, Memorial Field, which is the last legacy project in the chain of legacy projects that have been done in this county, that this becomes a reality. And I'm confident that it's going to become a reality because I believe the partnership that we have through this county executive and his staff that we've actually been able to pull together with Mount Vernon certainly assure that the residents of this city who have waited a long time, too long, some would say, will at some point see Memorial Field in a real renovated state. And that begins, I believe, with our discussion when we began in January, and I see we're seeing now an ever-evolving process of progress toward the end game. And I know a lot of kids, county executive, are going to be glad to be in the marching band in Memorial Field, because right now there is nothing there. But I think that it's not where we have been that matters. It's where we are going to be, where we get into the future. And that's what the focus is here. And so as the legislator that represents this district, I'm proud of the work that the county is doing to help us, but I'm also proud of the residents who reside in this city, because they have waited long and patiently, but they also have hope and aspirations to see Memorial Field rebounded, and they will. So thank you again for coming, and I look forward to listening to the comments here tonight.
Thank you, Legislator. To introduce the elected officials who are with us here, we have a number of members of the Mount Vernon City Council. Council President Andre Wallace is here on the dais. Also with us on the dais is Councilwoman Delia Farquharson, who heads the relevant committee that is involved with us on the City Council. We also have Councilwoman Janet Duarte with us. We have Councilwoman Lisa Copeland with us. And I'm looking quickly to see if I've missed anybody at this point from the council. We have with us Mount Vernon City Court Judge Adrian Armstrong is with us. And of course we have the Mayor of the City of Mount Vernon, who will be our next speaker, Mayor Richard Thomas. From the county government, we have with us Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins. We have our Commissioner of the Department of Public Works, Hugh Grecian, our County Attorney, John Nona, our Chief of Staff, Andrew Ferris, our Director of Communications, Catherine Chaffee, and nobody is getting paid overtime. We're on a straight time. Straight time. And if I missed anybody that I should have announced was in elective office, then I'm sure somebody will let me know so I can give them proper respect. Next, I'd like to invite Mayor of this city, Mayor Richard Thomas, to share his thoughts. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you to the 12-year-old George Latimer, our county executive, for making sure that we continue this forward march to bring back Memorial Field. Everybody, let's give our county executive a big round of applause. And our county legislators for doing a yeoman's job, for making sure that the legacy dollars don't become a faded memory. I mean, think about it. It's been a struggle, but we have to thank County Legislator Lyndon Williams for leading the charge to make sure that the dollars stay active and dedicated to the city of Mount Vernon and to our children. So thank you, Mr. County Legislator Lyndon Williams. I'm giving him a round of applause. And, let the kids play again. That's really what it boils down to. You ask yourself, any child born after the year 2006, they have no idea what Memorial Field is, other than a place that is closed. They lost time, they lost a piece of their identity, and that's something that we can never get back. So this shared vision, the forward movement, is something that's going to enable our children, our community, our seniors to live life happier, healthier, and make Mount Vernon feel like home again. So I'm so excited that we're here. And our most precious commodity are our children. It's the people of our city. And this positions us to really do some great things. And I just want to thank the county for making sure that we continue making that movement, fighting for every progressive inch. And I'll say that there was very good news as to why I was delayed, but I'll share that later. But nonetheless, I just want to say thank you, and we look forward to making this happen very, very, very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, and one last thing, football. So I played football. I was an outside linebacker for the varsity team. So I was at least there taking all the hits, and I'll continue to take the hits.
Right, I failed to introduce right next to me Anthony Catalano, who's a professional engineer and the principal in charge of the consulting firm of Woodard Curran, who will be walking us through some of these diagrams in a few seconds, all of which will precede hearing from the public. He's joined tonight, I think, by Steve Loria, who's a project manager and social professional engineer. Thank you, Mr. Loria, and of course, Anthony, thank you for being here. So let me invite City Council President Andre Wallace to share thoughts.
Thank you. Basically, I'd like to just thank everybody for coming out. This is a very, very long process. We all know that the Memorial Field has not been active for about 10 years. And it's about looking forward and trying to make sure that we do get it to that point and get it active. I'd also like to thank the county executive for taking a major part of and the lead in this particular issue and making sure that the field gets done. I'm very excited that we are moving forward. I'm extremely happy that we're moving forward. This has just been something that I've been watching for a very long time and waiting for because I used to run track there all the time. So I'm looking forward to hopefully when it's done, one of the people taking the first laps. So with that being said, there's not a lot more. I guess we're going to hear from the people and see what the people want. It doesn't matter what we want. It's about what you want and about trying to make that a reality for everybody. And listening to what everybody has to say and really taking that in and trying to produce a product that the community is very happy with. So that's about it I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Councilman Farquharson.
Thank you, County Executive. Let me just say that I'm really delighted that we're being intentional as a community in focusing on Memorial Field and inviting public participation. So thank you for showing up and for being here. I am the chairperson of Memorial Field on the City Council, and I am looking forward to the end of this project. I remember when Memorial Field closed in 2009. And so I'm really looking forward to having Memorial Field reopened. It is our emotional center for more reasons than one. You heard the mayor recount his experience, as did the county executive. So it's an emotional center for the community. And we will not be whole or fully well until Memorial Field is restored. And I think that's an important thing. So yeah, let us be intentional in everything that we do in ensuring that we work collaboratively together to bring it back to what it ought to be for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor. So we're joined by County Legislator David Tubiolo, who's going to be up here on the podium, but I think we should be getting into the program here. So I'm going to ask Anthony Tubiolo to be able to walk us through what the original preliminary facility layout looks like. There was a one-page handout that you have in the back. If you didn't pick up one, you can pick up one at any point in time, which shows the basic map that you're seeing, as well as a list of some of the design features. So Anthony, walk us through what we have on our charts and how we begin the process, and then after that we'll go to public commentary.
Sure. Thank you, County Executive Latimer. We're going to talk about some of the technical features, design features of the project, some logistical points as well. But I did want to start with more on a personal note. You've heard a lot of personal stories and feelings, and there's a lot of passion around Memorial Field. And if I look like a familiar face, and one of the reasons why I'm passionate about this and our team is as well, we've been involved in working together with the city of Mount Vernon to reach this vision of the redevelopment of Memorial Field for a number of years now. So from a professional perspective, but also from a personal perspective, we also are very passionate about this project and seeing it to completion. It's a very exciting time, so moving forward in terms of what we want to discuss, if we can just back up, if you could. Just by way of introductions, obviously I've been introduced already as the principal of Woodard Curran, leading the project for the firm. I also have with me Steve Laurier, our project manager, who's here, in addition to Jen Martinez, who is a resident of Mount Vernon, and Melissa Brown, who's with us as well, who grew up in Mount Vernon and is part of our team also. We also are joined by city and county representatives, obviously. Okay. I want to start with the redevelopment design progress update, just to kind of give you a sense of the work that's been completed over the last several months. There's been a lot of activity. It's been well documented at the site over the last few years. One of the items that's very important in order to move ahead with the design is to have an accurate representation of what is out there now in terms of grades and overall topography. So it was imperative that we moved ahead with an updated topography survey, working together with the county and the city, and that's essentially the theme throughout the night is the collaboration between the city and the county. We were able to get an updated survey, which essentially serves as the base map for moving forward with the design that we're currently working on. We've been coordinating with city representatives in terms of the status of a remedial action plan. You heard about the county executive mention that earlier. We'll get into that in a little bit further later on in the presentation. But it's important that we keep in mind what we call this starting with the end in mind. That we keep in mind that in order to move forward with the implementation of the design that we're preparing with the contractors, that the site is remediated in accordance with the requirements that the DEC has, the New York State DEC. Again, we'll talk about that a little further, but the point here is that we have been coordinating very closely with the city and where they are with that program. The development of preliminary design. So we have completed a preliminary design layout for the project. obviously keeping in mind budget constraints. It's not a blank check, and we do have constraints on the financial side. Our goal as the professionals working for the city and the county is to, for lack of a better term, get the biggest bang for your buck, be able to provide the greatest value for the budget that's available for this project. And we think that we're on the right track to do that. And then the public forum that we have here tonight. We could talk what we want about the overall design. What's important is to recognize that you all are very passionate about this project, and we do want to hear from you at the conclusion of the presentation. So let's start with the preliminary design that we've laid out. I do have two boards here. Hopefully you're able to see it. Essentially what you see here is what's projected up on the screen. We'll start with the multi-purpose synthetic turf field. One of the key features that we just want to point out with that is over the last few years, there's been a lot of progress made with the different turf products that are out there in the marketplace in terms of playability and performance, but also in terms of safety. So you should all know that we're keeping a very close eye on safety features as part of this project as well. And without getting into the nitty-gritty details, the design of the field system itself will include what we call a shock pad, which will help in terms of overall safety and also for the life of the field as well. In addition, we also have an 8-lane, 400-meter track. I know there's been past discussions about track and field for the site. We are, as the county executive said, looking at the agreement that the county and city had originally, which included an 8-lane track that will provide the city with a great amount of flexibility in terms of hosting events. And in addition to the track itself, we talk about the different events that are available. We have the steeplechase that's located in this area here, the long and triple jump on the lower part of the diagram, the high jump here, and then the pole vault over in this corner here. This is preliminary, but in terms of those particular features, we think that what you see is about where they'll be located within the overall turf footprint itself. And again, we think that that provides some flexibility and really opportunities for the city to move forward with hosting various events. In terms of seating, what we're looking to do is to accommodate approximately 2,500 spectators at the event, and currently we're proposing it in about the same location that you may have seen on some past diagrams as well. In addition to the seating for 2,500 people, we also are looking to include locker rooms and showers as part of structures that we're designing behind or beneath those bleachers, the bleacher system itself. The locker rooms will accommodate approximately 40 individuals in each of the locker rooms. And as I said, we also have restrooms there as well. In addition, we are looking to include a scoreboard and a sound system for the facility, LED lighting, essentially for the play at night and providing greater opportunities to get good use out of the field itself. We talked about the locker rooms and restrooms and showers. Public restrooms are also going to be included in there, in addition to a dry snack concession stand and ticket booth, which obviously would be more closer to when you enter the facility itself. There will be an entry plaza to provide a sense of arrival for the overall facility in terms of the treatments for the surface itself. That'll be all worked out during the design process. One of the things that we're going to look to do, and we do on all of our designs, is to look for opportunities to incorporate sustainable features. So to the extent that we could do that and be environmentally friendly, we certainly will look to do that as well. And site utilities. Obviously, in order to accommodate the field system and the overall program that we're talking about here, we are going to include electric and gas and sanitary sewer and water as well. and stormwater management, which should not be underestimated. With the constantly changing regulatory requirements that we have, that most of, or not all of us here in the dais are fully aware of. That's something that we need to pay close attention to, and we are, in terms of overall stormwater quantity management, but also quality as well, prior to discharging of the stormwater after it's collected. So that's an important part of the overall project that we're going to ensure that the site and the city and the county are regulatory compliant. In terms of project implementation, if we could just go through some of the key steps and overall timeframes. We did talk about a remedial action plan. So look at it from the perspective of we're moving forward with a design currently, and we give a sense of with the design and the construction bid document process time will take approximately 6 months. What we're looking at is on a parallel path, and as we mentioned earlier, coordinating with the city and their consultants, that the removal of material from the site in accordance with the DEC requirements would be moving forward on a somewhat parallel path with the design and the bid document development process. And then following that is the bidding and award. So for all intents and purposes, if you consider what the DEC has approved in terms of the remediation of the site, that is for that to be completed by the end of this year. The timing works beautifully in that we would be complete with the design and the bid documents and moving forward with bidding. And once we secure a contractor and start the shop drawing review process, we would be starting to move towards the favorable weather conditions in the spring, when at that point, if we go by the overall schedule, the cleanup would be completed. And when the contractor mobilizes for the development plans, they'll have a clean slate to work from on the site itself. You do see the last bullet there in terms of target of opening of the overall facility. It says spring of 2021. If you think about the project construction starting in the spring of next year, and then taking approximately 12 to 14 months total as you move towards the winter conditions in the following year, we would estimate that the completion of the project would be sometime in the spring of 2021. So that kind of gives you a snapshot without getting into the nitty-gritty technical details of what the overall intent is and the preliminary design at this point. Also kind of gives you a sense of the implementation steps and the timeline that's required to move forward with this project and complete it. Again, it is an exciting time in that we're moving forward and making a lot of progress, and this overall get-together this evening is a big part of that. So I echo the county executive sentiments that it'll be important to hear from all of you, and we look forward to that. Thank you.
Now, if we get ready for citizen comment, we'll read your name and we'll read the name of the next person that lines up after them. Hopefully I can read your name clearly and don't mispronounce it. We're going to ask you to make your remarks no more than 3 minutes, and we'll let you know when the time has arrived. We have, I believe, Chelsea is with us here. She has a yellow 1 minute left sign and then a red stop sign, just like when you go down the street in the traffic light. And we understand that you want to complete the thought, so it's not sort of cut you off at the end. But if you would, out of courtesy to everybody, we would appreciate it if you could focus your comments and so forth. We're scheduled to be here until 8:30, I think. Is that the time we're here? We have some time built in. Okay, so we intend to be here to listen to everybody if we can during this period of time. If it goes a little later, that's fine. And I want to highlight, I believe it's on the sheet, hopefully it is, yes, it's the bottom of the one-page sheet you have. There's an email address, communications@westchestergov.com. If for any reason you don't speak tonight, or after you speak tonight, you want to write a longer point of view, you're welcome to address it to that email address. Every email that you send will be shared with the county and the city officials so that all of us can see what your input is. Whatever your input is, there's no argument about it tonight. You're going to just state your thoughts, and we'll try to see what we can incorporate into whatever's happened. What you've seen here, as Anthony pointed out, this was the original design that was identified in 2009 when this original deal was cut. There are many other issues at hand, and there are many other possible services and so forth. So if you want to express your opinion, express it that way so that we hear what your point of view is. And I don't know if I missed anything that I needed to have said. So I think we got it. Okay. So the first speaker is Darlos James, and after Darlos James is Anthony Hall. So first, Darlos James, if you're here. I guess we'll do like they do going once. Darlos James,
Right.
Mr. James, please come right up here to the microphone in the center. Thanks very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's ironic that I'm first because I was in the first Razorback team back in 1980 that played at Memorial Field. So, thank you. All right. But since then, I've been coaching youth football down there for 30 years. I love the plans. Glad to see it finally happen. I'm 49 years old now. So, it's beautiful. My only question would be is the 2,500 seats. To me, that's not enough. I'd like to see seats on both sides, both sidelines. Excuse me. Y'all don't even know how important this is to me and my family and the kids. I mean, it's just very, very important. So even when I was sitting back there, I was breaking down, trying not to cry because, like I said, I've been involved with the Razorbacks. I've been coaching down since I was 18. So this is, if people know when I die, throw my ashes at Memorial Field. That's how serious this is to me and my family and the people of Mount Vernon too. But yeah, my biggest concern was I was looking at the seating arrangements as far as on the 2,500. I remember like when we had the Michael Jackson concerts down there. You're gonna need, the people the money that the field can bring and the venue to rent. 2,500 seats is like a small high school stadium. So I think. That's my biggest concern, though. All right? Good night, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. James. And the recommendation is additional seating and having some seatings on the other side of the field so the nurse shell people can sit there. Right. Our next speaker is Anthony Hall, and after Mr. Hall will be Robert Fishback. Mr. Hall.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Hall. I've been in Mount Vernon for 10 years. I coach a track club, the Halls Express Track Club. If you don't know, you should know Delia Stevens, who's one of our first Olympian from Mount Vernon. Even though Mount Vernon never said anything to me about the job that I did, but it's okay, But I'm still having a lot more talent in Mount Vernon. It's sad that the situation going on so long, but a couple of things with this track. We need to have another runway on the other side for the 100 meter. If you're going to make an 8-lane track, you have to have 2 runways. Also, you need to be IWFA certified so that we can have international track meets. Also, the stadium seated, as Dollars was saying, is not enough. We need at least 50,000 seated. Because in 2010, I brought USA Track and Field president to this place to look at the previous setting. They wanted to bring the Junior Olympic here in 2012. Junior Olympic is considered 7,000 kids and 7,000 parents with coaches, spectators. This can generate a lot of money. We have Icon Stadium in the city, and Icon Stadium cannot put on the Junior Olympics because of the toll routes. Mount Vernon could be generating so much money over the years that they don't know how much money they lost. By having everything open, we have all the highways, even though Mount Vernon don't have a hotel, but we have all the highways and all the different places that people would like to come. I travel across the U.S. every year. This year we're taking at least 10 kids to California to the Junior Olympics. And they keep asking me, New York don't have a track? Why we can't have Junior Olympic in New York? So we need to get this thing done properly. If you're gonna do a track, do it properly, so that we can be having big track meet. Also, I'm inviting each and every one of you to my dinner, my fundraising dinner for my team. It's April 20th at Elegant Law down on Sanford Boulevard. We're trying to raise money to take our kids again to the Junior Olympic, which is going to be in California. And the dinner is the 20th of April. You can see me, or you can allsexpress@gmail.com. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. I want to give some of those dinner information to one of our folks in the back to make sure everybody's aware of it. So good. And key comments, there is a runway on the other side, and again, more seats. Next speaker is Robert Fishback, and he will be followed by Cynthia Turnquest Jones. Mr. Fishback.
Yes, nice to meet fellow marching band member. I play drums.
I was getting worried because all these guys are athletes. I was the only one that couldn't get it done.
I also ran track, but Mamaroneck High School. Yeah, and I used to run the track at Memorial Field in the early 80s when I first moved here. I'm a 39-year resident. I look forward to having everything back. Maybe bring my granddaughters here now. And my interest is professional boxing. I hope we could maybe talk boxing. Promoters have professional boxing events. If you see the prices they get for tickets at places like the Barclays Center, I think it would be very good for revenue, very popular activity. I'm not sure I heard anything about parking. You don't want residents complaining that people coming to events are taking up the parking spaces in front of their houses. And the merchants across the street in the shopping center, which wasn't there years ago, I'm sure they don't want all the parking spaces taken up by people coming to events. So what plans do you have for parking? Last thing I want to say, possibly the Memorial Field could be, when it's rededicated, could be dedicated to the memory of Shamoya McKenzie, a young athlete whose life was taken early from her. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fishback. You highlighted professional boxing, or boxing use on the site, the needs for additional parking, and the dedication of the field for Ms. McKenzie. Next is Cynthia, just announce your name, so everybody knows. Cynthia Turnquest Jones is our next speaker, and she will be followed by Sean Patterson Howard.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Turnquest Jones. I am a lifelong resident of Mount Vernon. And so at first I was trying to figure out, what was missing, and then I really came up with what was missing. So when I was pregnant, I used to walk down to Memorial Field and get some exercise, but then I walked up the hill and stopped off at the ice cream factory and got me a Belgian waffle with ice cream and pineapples and extra whipped cream.
We haven't had dinner yet. So.
And then I had the little Belgian waffle, and he needed to get some energy out, so I would take him down to Memorial Field to run that energy out. So what I came up with is a list of what we need, not what we want. So what children need? Children need encouraging interaction and engaging conversation down at Memorial Field, to have play dates and camping at night. Children need to make reading a priority. So we can have a readathon at Memorial Field. And we can also read under the stars. Children also need to promote play. You can have a toddler's race. You can have a mom and me race, father-son race, 55 and older races. And last but not least, Memorial Field needs to have a rally for Let Girls Learn Day. So I host Let Girls Learn Day in Mount Vernon. This is going to be the third one at Mount Vernon Public Library. But I envision Memorial Field with girls from all over rallying and understanding that they can learn and that they can do the damn thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Sean Patterson Howard, and she'll be followed by Terry Ann Lee.
Good evening. I want to say thank you to our County Executive, George Latimer, our County Legislator, Lyndon for leading the charge and then coming together to work with our elected city officials to finally move Mount Vernon Memorial Field forward. As you said, it's the last of the legacy projects in the county to be completed. My question comes because for the last 3 to 4 years we've heard, well, 3 years we've heard what it's going to cost to remove the dirt that is there. We have 12 to 15,000 cubic yards of dirt that we're looking at approximately $80 a cubic yard. That needs to go to a DEC approved facility. I guess that's part of the remediation plan. And it needs to be segregated. So right there, just looking at those numbers, we're looking at approximately $1.2 million. And I guess that's just to have it go to the facility, but there's costs on top of that to have it segregated and to plow up and to have it plowed and removed and brought to the facility. Have we identified whether it's capital dollars in Mount Vernon? I'm sure it can't necessarily be operational dollars because you don't use operational dollars for a capital project, but have we identified that money to do that so that we can take advantage of the $12 million in money that is sitting at the county waiting for our Mount Vernon elected officials to come up with a plan so that we can remove that dirt so that we can move forward? That's the first part. I too am very passionate about it. I broke track records at Memorial Field. I marched at Memorial Field. We had community-wide school field days at Memorial Field. Our summer camp Olympics were at Memorial Field. I graduated in 1986 from Memorial Field. My daughter graduated in 2009 from the county center. That's not Mount Vernon history. It's Memorial Field, it's our history. My family has walked, my aunt is 91 and she walked every morning at Memorial Field. And Memorial Field is not just a field, it's a place for our community cohesion. It is the common unity that binds our collective community. We need it back. I look forward to it coming back. And hopefully we will identify the monies needed to move the project forward so that we can take advantage and leverage the $12 million. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Terry Ann Lee, and she will be followed by Glenn Harris. And while Ms. Lee is coming to the microphone, I want to mention that Councilman Marcus Griffith has joined us. Councilman Griffith, thank you for being with us tonight. Ms. Lee.
Hi. I'm a new resident of Mount Vernon. My brother, he's been living here forever. 13 years old, and we don't know what Memorial Field is. Which is kind of bad, because you guys have so much memories of it. But what he's asking for is a half pipe, so he could do skating, because he loves skating. And there's no place anywhere in Mount Vernon for skateboarders. So that's what he's really asking for, a skateboard. But, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The comment there was a half-pipe skateboard as part of the park, and Ms. Howard wants to make sure that we identify the cleanup costs of the DEC and how that's going to be paid for. Our next speaker is Glenn Harris, and he will be followed by Eveline, I don't know if I can read this properly, Feldman? Okay. All right, so Mr. Harris.
Good evening, panel. Good evening, everyone in Mount Vernon. Mr. Latimer, I'm glad that you're part of this project because it now takes the great cloud that was hanging over Mr. Williams' head when he went and got this money from Mount Vernon and all the dubious malfeasance that went down after he got this money for us. I would like to see that you make sure that anybody that was involved with Mount Vernon Memorial Field project over the past 10 years are not part of the program now. We've had a lot of people that did double booking at Memorial Field because they got away with murder. I would like for your folk to make sure that anybody who was there will not be in the project going forward, because they robbed us blind. Because what never gets told to us is the bottom line of how much money the citizens of Mount Vernon will have to pick up from all the shifting of the dollars, all the mismanagement, all the statements about what went wrong. That isn't fair to us. So going forward with this field, yes, we want it back, but we want great accountability. One of the things that have stuck in my craw is that all that dirt got moved to Memorial Field, but yet over the years, nobody could tell us where the hell those trucks came from. Despite any traffic coming up from the south or the north, from the east or the west, have to go through toll monitors, lights, cameras, but nobody could say, let's go get the trucking company that brought that damage to us and put the bill on them and not have us carry that bill again. Because there's no in the world I could drive my car from, let's say, Baltimore to New York without going through any tunnel or bridge where my license plate is recorded in movement, whether going or coming out of New York. And with a border barrier that's between New Jersey and New York, how the hell did those trucks get here and nobody saw who they were? There was no names on the side of the trucks, but yet that garbage is sitting in Memorial Field waiting for us to foot the damn bill. That has to stop. There is some way you and your party, you came in with a strong elbow on everybody about the job that you wanted to do, to correct the mistakes from other malfeasance that prior administrations have done. But nobody here in Mount Vernon can explain to us why Mount Vernon government itself did nothing to effectively go after those that harmed Memorial Field. And that includes liars about the grandstand when two different companies did EPA reports and charged Mount Vernon for both of the same projects. That nonsense has to stop. We have paid through our teeth for this, and the damages, we have kids that don't know that Memorial Field was a place for them to go and play. Anything going forward right now, you, sir, we want to charge you with addressing to us, the citizens, what is the bottom line cost that we'll have to take out of our pocket? Because money just disappeared like they stood up in the air in the wind, and now we're sitting here now with this new project, which is an old project, going forward. And I did make a bet years ago that I told someone it was going to take us 15 years to get it completed. But thanks to this plan, it'll be 12 years. It still is a big knock to us. What we need is for this project to be totally clear and transparent. Not alluded to, not partially stated to. What is the bottom line to the citizens of Mount Vernon of what's going to come out of our pocket when the project is done? Because like anybody buying stuff, if you went to Home Depot, if you bought something from Home Depot 10 years ago, that cost is different today, 10 years later. So are these costs fixed? Are the contractors saying that they could get this completed without under or overestimations that's going to come down the line? And if that is the case, where is the money will be gotten from that we won't have to pick that bill up again? This is the problem of being in Mount Vernon. We've been played for chumps, fools, and idiots. With every administration you could talk and point out, because nobody could explain how this went down and where the money went. I would appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Latimer, because you got elected to help us citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me just highlight, because of the basics of it, what I said earlier on, the original costing of the project was $12.7 million. I think it's clear that it's going to cost more than that. The remediation costs, I don't know if we have a price tag on it, but there's an additional amount of money that will also be built into this. And of course, an estimate made 10 years ago, no doubt is going to be more expensive today. We have basically said at the county that it's, at some point in time, we'll be sitting with the city, we'll be looking at an audit of how the money that the county forwarded a few years ago turned out. But the most important thing for us is to figure out how we allocate the costs at the same time while actually doing the project. What we don't want to do is wind up having everything freeze for 3 or 4 years. So the county may determine that it will go forward with the money that it has to start moving on the project as we try to assess it. We haven't made that as a final decision yet, but as you said, 12 years, 15 years, we want to see this thing done. So if the county has to front some money, we'll have that discussion as we go forward. But thank you for your comments. Next, we have Eveline Feldman, followed by Mr. Clark. Ms. Feldman.
Thank you, Mr. Executive. Thank you for coming here and helping us getting this done. We appreciate it. We appreciate the patience. That's something that I've learned. I have here almost 8-year-old Jolie and almost 9-year-old Roscoe. He's celebrating his birthday in the park when we are ready to pitch in and clean up the park on Earth Day, Sunday, or a week later, that is, on the 28th. So we are outdoorsy people. Obviously, I'm not from here, and I don't have a history on the field, but a little bit by kind of being patient and hearing about it, also trying it out. They tried some tennis that was available, but now they had to stop. So we basically, in 2011, when we were in the market to buy a home, to start the home, the family life, we were looking at several different communities. What was important for me, I'm coming from Switzerland, I have an utmost respect for nature and the balanced life in it and what it means to be healthy. For me, 3 things were important: that my house is surrounded by trees, that we have a good elementary school where they could have a continuous education with a good ground, and the third one was, with my husband, we were looking for a community where there is a skate park, because skating is an important part in our lives. It's not so much football, but I respect the football community very much. I'm bringing here an idea for balance. The skateboard community is unlike the football community. Skateboarding has tremendous benefits on the youth, especially the youth in Mount Vernon. It is a calm community. They are focusing on skill sets. They're eyeing also on the price. It is a sport where you can make tremendous money. It is a sport where you don't have to be super clever or in school, or you don't have to be super strong on the field. It is a balancing act here. I think we were in the market seeing a skate park on the plans at the time in 2010, 2011, around there. I don't know whose plans they were, but they were attractive for us, and we put the foot down in Mount Vernon for this future, because we knew we're going to have Roscoe who's going to skate, and this is the truth. So this is what I would like to see, a skate park for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy birthday,
Her
Roscoe.
name is pronounced Evelyn Feldman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and happy birthday, Roscoe. Our next speaker is Mr. Clark, followed by Roger Grant.
Good evening, Mount Vernon. To the panel, citizens, and taxpayers of Mount Vernon. The first thing I'm going to say is that I've been attending forums about Memorial Field for the past 10 years, and even before. Even Blackwood time, a lady told him when I was president, you need to fire the Public Works Commissioner because the ground wasn't taken care of. All the equipment was under the beach and whatnot. Why take a blame for somebody who you employ? I'm going to move on. I've suggested many times for this memorial plan, which is a big plan, to have a committee from Mount Vernon. A committee, and maybe we could visit other cities where we have the same square footage and see what kind of multiple stadium they have. The 3 previous speakers said the same thing I was talking about, the capacity, 2,500. I'm not going to spend much time on it, but I'll just draw a reference. Now, the Taunton School auditorium, when I first went there, it was 3,000 seating for auditorium, the biggest seating we had in Mount Vernon. It's down a little bit for Brooklyn. They're renovating it now. I don't know if it will come back to 3,000. but I suggest you look at that number. And county exec, you said you graduated at Mount Memorial Field. I worked with Mount Vernon School District for 20 years as a custodian, and I prepared Memorial Field for many graduations. And with that, I think 2,500 is not enough, because grandparents, uncles, aunties, sisters, brothers, and where we have added to other places, it was a problem. At one time, even the police had to come. So I'm going to move on. I noticed on this, the greatest American sports you don't have here. Is this a mistake? There's no baseball. Everything, there's no baseball. I see lacrosse, and I see field hockey. I don't see the tennis. That's right. And then, which keep very active when you could have these on weekend and whatnot, table tennis. If we're talking about multiple facilities, we should have that. And cricket. When I came here, there was cricket. Some of the world cricketers came here to play. Gary Sobers, Kanai, and other people. And that's a money making, as they say. You sell the tickets. Bloomberg, when he was mayor, he donated a lot of money to Queens, where they got a cricket club over here. We have several in Westchester, because people came to pick apples and are here, and some of the Englishmen, and they have in Massachusetts as well.
Mr. Clark, we've reached the 3-minute mark. If you want to just summarize quickly.
All right, I will. I'm glad that we have a panel and a forum, and I hope we don't have to go in reverse gear. And one of the reasons why I mentioned citizens to be involved, because many institutions where you have people like myself who is involved with experience, I don't see anything on this sheet about facilities to take care of it, facility that you're building. Some guys, when they build in a restaurant, they bring the cooking to have to be the design of the restaurant where the pots and everything go. Because for you to keep these facilities well, that should be in the plan. And some of the material. Modern bathrooms need ceramic from top to bottom.
Mr. Clark, I'm going to have to thank you very much for your time. You're welcome to send some additional comments if you want. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Roger Brown, and the card that I have to that says Craig. Mr. Brown.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having this venue where people can make their suggestions. Mine is like a few others that I've heard. When doing my research on buying a home in Westchester, I decided Mount Vernon based on a few factors. Its community proximity to New York City, its diverse community, its affordable housing, and a proposed skate park in Memorial Field. Except for the last one, you probably heard these reasons before. But as a former sponsored skateboarder, whose children also skate, who see the popularity of the sport skyrocket, in the last several years, Mount Vernon should join other municipalities like Yonkers, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens and build a public skate park, as was slated in the original plans. With young people more and more concerned with social media, video games, and other minimal physical activities, finding an outdoor activity that encourages actual social interaction, creativity, and physical fitness is important. Skate parks can provide that spark for those who aren't drawn to traditional team sports. Skateboarding is becoming more and more diverse and international. Two of the last 3 Thrasher Skaters of the Year have been African American. 2018 Skater of the Year, Tyshawn Jones, is from the Bronx. He just opened a Caribbean restaurant in Soundview in the Bronx. So that the back cover as well. And skateboarding will be debuting the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Unfortunately, lacrosse will be on the outside looking in. But depending on how it's built, Memorial Skate Park can be a destination for skaters all around the tri-state area and beyond. We may even get a few families taking up residence. Thank you. And regarding the subsidies, I know this is a limited budget, $12.7 million plus. I do have some connections with Levi's Skateboarding the Tony Hawk Foundation, if you're looking to subsidize the skate park. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, if you want to make sure you leave your name, information on how to reach you, since you've identified some contacts with one of our folks here, so we can follow up on those. And I should point out, there are skate parks in Westchester and other places. New Rochelle has one, Rise City has one, so it is precedented elsewhere. So, okay, the next person is Craig. Nice to have you with us, sir. That's going to be followed by Lisa Copeland, if she'd like to speak.
Sure. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm happy to be here now. Sure, you know, I was thinking, you know, I live in Mount Vernon all my life, you know, I'm neighbor. When I was a kid, I used to love going to the park, you know, and when I see it now, everything gone, you know. You got to do something. Not for me, for all the people, you know. I know everybody feels I do, you know. To remember it. So we have remember we got work that live, you know. So remember and make me want to cry, you know, sometimes, but, you know. I remember my daddy used to take me to the park every day. No, my daddy died. And you could let the park try to come on, get on, fit the park. Yeah, thank you. So I have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The next speaker, Councilwoman Lisa Copeland, would you like to speak? Okay, thank you. Our next speaker then is Jeff Monroe. Jeff Monroe, if you'd like to speak, you're up next.
Thank you. So I apologize if I'm asking the law firm's representatives.
You mean the consulting firm, the engineers, right? Mr. Catalano from
Mr. Catalano, thank you. So I was paying too much attention to exposure and didn't hear everything you were saying. So pardon me if I'm being redundant, but I'm wondering what Lee's aspects he might have paid attention to, if there are any aspects of green, reusable energy, solar, or if you said we're talking about artificial or sod, and if so, are we talking about renewable stormwater, aspects of the greenery? I'm also wondering, in terms of media, do we have independent media facilities? I'm sure you have announcer boxes and audio consolidation there. Do you have ability for independent media usage? I want to be specific because I don't mean corporate media. I mean, while you will have corporate press, I'm hoping that we pay due diligence to the independent media current trends in terms of not just social. In fact, in Mount Vernon, we obviously have a legacy of contribution to media, but I'm talking in terms of media training, where you can bring young people, not just schools either, but organizational, non-profit type of usage where you don't have to pay $5,000 type of usage fees. So I wonder if that can be consolidated into your plan.
If I could, I know this is not a back and forth comment response, but I did want to make one point as it relates to the design as it stands now. There is currently contemplated a press box. Jeff, right? Yeah, you had reminded me of that, and I did not mention that earlier. So as part of the bleacher system, we are looking to incorporate a press box type facility with a catwalk area for videoing the details will be worked out as we continue to advance the design. With respect to having enough space to accommodate those types of training sessions and other things for the media, that's something that we'll have to look at. But I did want to just clarify that a press box is included as part of the design as it currently stands.
Thank you. We have a few more cards left, but if anybody else wishes to speak that hasn't spoken already, and you've sat, listened, and you'd like to share your thoughts, would you please touch base with somebody at the front desk out there? They'll write down your name on a card, and then we'll take you in sequence and order. We have a couple of public officials. We want to make sure that they have a chance to speak if they like. Councilwoman Janet Duarte, would you like to share anything, Councilwoman? Okay, you don't have to. I'm just making sure we have it offer. In the front end of the meeting, we started with a few comments. We want to make sure we have some residents now that we have a bit of a lull. And make the same offer to Councilman Marcus Griffith. Would you like to share some thoughts? Okay. Very good. Legislator David Tubiolo joined us for this. So David, if you'd like to share some thoughts, that opportunity. Still listening. I want you to make a note. We got a whole bunch of politicians that were off the microphone. You waited a long time before you watched that many people turn down the microphone. The next speaker is former Mayor Ernie Davis, who's requested to speak.
Good afternoon, evening.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. I'm disappointed in this plan. I'm disappointed because it didn't have to be that way. We went through plan after plan after plan. We had skateboard. We had a balanced approach to design that I don't see here. We tore down a iconic stadium, Memorial Field, to come up with this. It's an indictment on all of us because we go for the okey-doke and we're mesmerized by what people say to cover themselves. Tennis, how many courts did you tear down to do this? Question. How many tennis courts are left because of this plan?
We're not having a back and forth. You can certainly state whatever you feel, and go ahead and state it.
I'm asking a question that this plan does not
I
address.
understand. Well, as I said up front, this is the plan from 2009 as was originally discussed between the county and the city. Now,
You weren't here.
Ernie,
You weren't
Ernie,
here because I was the mayor.
Ernie,
then.
you were the mayor.
And the former county executive, we straightened all that out.
Well,
I have a plan here that has everybody that we prepared, and your organization was part of it. On this plan, this original plan, I don't know who's been talking to you, but you had Ernest Davis, Mayor, Maureen Walker, Controller, Darren Martin, Recreation Commissioner, Curtis Wood, Department of Public Works, Robert Astorino, County Executive, Lyndon Williams, Legislator, Kathleen O'Connor. So everybody knew. And I put my money to developing these plans that look nothing like this. I'm the only one that know the whole story, and nobody contacted me. And here I have someone comes in and tear down Memorial Stadium to come up with this. It's crazy. Now, Mount Vernon, it's time for you to rise up. Don't accept just what people give you, because this is really no good for the citizens of Mount Vernon. You go down there now. How many people have asked me, you assume someone told you that this planned 8-lane track was sacred. Ashton Reed even said, whatever you want to do, and it passed the council, we'll go along with it. This is your city. It's not the county's city. It's Mount Vernon city. So I would say you have to go back to the drawing board on this. To the average person, it might be okay. It's not okay with me, and I'm an architect. So I would suggest that we go back to the planning board, because what we're doing here will last all of our lifetime. I don't want the historian to say that because some misguided missiles that we end up with something inferior to what we had. If you want to do something, I would suggest that you go back and replicate the stadium as it was. It can be done. But to do this and fashion this off as progress makes no sense to me. Thank you.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Stephen Ritter, followed by Leanne Shaw. Mr. Ritter.
Peace and blessings to everybody. I'm a lifetime resident here. You know, we Memorial Field means so much to the residents. Yes, we are #1 in New York State, Westchester County in the federal basketball. I came back home to Mount Vernon and being disrespected, in fact, from a city when we are a federal state. And you're bringing a city into a federal state environment where we graduated from Memorial Field. And we had 15,000 of us in Mount Vernon High School. So you could imagine how many people was out this field and graduated time after time after time. 5 years of my time, from 8th grade, 12th grade, everyone graduated from Memorial Field. To have a stadium in which at one time was given $600 million to Mount Vernon to build a stadium, a professional stadium. Because like you have New York City, you have an NBA team, but you don't have Westchester when nobody could beat us. And in football, it was Westchester County with New Rochelle or White Plains. And every sport or everything that came across was at Memorial Field, and we were the ones who represented New York, Westchester County, Mount Vernon. So to have, you know, bickering, arguing, and doing all of these things that's not appropriate for the people that are the residents. You know, we had Michael Jackson. This is like we had so many famous things occurred at Memorial Field. And if you're going to build it, then it should be built as a stadium. That the NBA, it should be a national. We are a nation of people here, in which we've been living here way longer than anybody coming here trying to change the dynamics of it. 4 square miles is only 68,000, supposed to be the total population. So you can see how you're selling everything up because they are mismanaging. You have the bickering between the mayor and the president and the controller, and this thing needs to take place because the children that's coming up need to have a responsibility to uphold and upkeep a legendary historical park. And this is the world's greatest place in New York, no matter where you go, no matter what y'all do, no matter what y'all think, that Westchester, Mount Vernon, is the greatest place you ever could be in your life. And I believe you as a king. Peace and blessings.
The next speaker is Leanne Shaw, and she'll be followed by Mr. Elias Goodson.
Good evening, panel. My name is Leanne Shaw. I attend Cardinal Spelman High School. I grew up in Mount Vernon. I went from Mount Vernon daycare to Holmes Elementary to Longfellow Middle, and then I finally left in high school to go to Cardinal Spelman because I felt like there was going to be better opportunities for me. One opportunity that Mount Vernon has always offered to me, and I never had to leave my city to participate in, is tennis. I started tennis when I was 10 years old with Lennox Riley. Then Memorial Field opened back with the tennis courts, and I started playing tennis at Keela Tennis with Lennox Riley, a free program through Mount Vernon. Mr. Keela was one of the most generous men I had ever met in my life. He let my 4-year-old sister have free lessons with him at the beginning of her career. And my mom would not like me for telling you this, but she could not afford tennis lessons with Mr. Keela. And he worked around her budget and allowed my sister to play. I believe that the mayor at the end of this table is not the mayor from Mount Vernon.
That's right.
And the reason I say this is because I've had many conversations with this mayor, and I've had many conversations with Mayor Davis as well. Former Mayor Davis. The mayor at the end of this table, I said to him, why should you close the tennis courts and stop tennis for a summer? That didn't even make sense. I understand they had the bubble, but why not close the tennis courts during the winter? You're stopping a man's livelihood and ability to provide for his family. You're stopping young people from getting the exercise that they need and being able to leave the house and leave whatever they have at home, and come to a safe place and play tennis. This mayor said to me, I said to the mayor, why should I have to leave my city? Nothing that I've ever...
Sure, I don't want to interrupt you, but here's where we're at tonight. We have a plan that goes back to the original plan that was first proposed.
The original plan was never carried out.
Hang on, I will listen to you, but I want you to help me frame this now. Your comment at the microphone should be about what you want to see happen at this park going forward. There's been 10 years of history, different mayors, different people with lots of different plans. If you believe there should be tennis at this facility, then say that. But the story of what you did and how you did to get here is not as important for us tonight as to know what do you want to see in this park going forward. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to frame your comments toward what we have to look at. And I'm just going to jump in a second. If the will of Mount Vernon is to do tennis on this site, different from this plan, the county doesn't mind, you will have to make a trade-off. To have tennis and a skate park and a track and a football field is not possible within this facility. So certain things are going to have to give if you want something else. There is no magic bullet here. But if your wish is to see tennis, then state that, and we'll state all the other stuff, all the other political stuff. I know where we're at. Say that for a different forum at a different time.
Okay. Thank you. My thing is, stop me if I'm wrong. The Keelers have a bid with the city of Mount Vernon that they get to have their tennis courts, and everybody gets, he gets to have whoever plays tennis there, right? Am I wrong?
The issue of the tennis court is being litigated between the city and the owner of the tennis court.
So that's not a no.
A judge is going to decide whatever that happens, that's over here. Unless the court orders us to do something as an outgrowth of that lawsuit, we, the county, are going to put together a final development plan, which the city council and mayor will have to look at and like, the county legislature will have to look at and like, and then we're going to have to figure out if it's more than $12.7 million, how are we going to fund it? But whatever happens in that court suit is not happening because of anything we're involved with tonight. That will be adjudicated to final closure in a court of law.
Thank you. What I have to say is that plan is not going to work for the city. The city, that has nothing to do with the people that live here. We know what's going on. You know what's going on. Who cares about that, right? But what I'm saying here, I understand you don't want to hear my background or my life story or whatever, but tennis belongs in this city, and that plan is not going to do so, and neither is that mayor. So whatever you have to do in court needs to be done ASAP, because there's been stop work orders. I live right above the field, and I see everything that's getting done. I live at 431 McClellan, 429. It's a two-family, and I can guarantee you that that field has looked the same for multiple years, other than the demolition of the tennis courts. The only thing that has happened over that period of time is the tennis courts. And if I was more prepared for this meeting, I could definitely bring you pictures. So, thank you.
I appreciate your input. And like some other speakers tonight, we have argued that there should be tennis courts at this field, at this site. And that's a legitimate input that we take into. So Elias is the next speaker, and I can't read the first name, but the last name is George. What's that? Black George to follow Elias.
I appreciate you being here. I live across the street, so it wasn't hard to find you. And I appreciate Lyndon Williams and all of the elected officials who are here. And at the cost of repeating what the young lady said behind us, maybe I need to say it differently, is because I've said I'm not supporting any mayors this year. I'm not supporting any candidates in the primary this year, because I'm not happy. I'm an advocate for my community. And when, regardless of who the mayor has been in this community, Sanford Boulevard and Mount Vernon Heights neighborhood has been colonial Mount Vernon, colonial Westchester. And when I say that is you take economic value out and you don't put it back. Example being, you build a beautiful Sanford Boulevard business corridor. Wonderful thing. Millions of dollars come back in sales tax to the city. Nothing put into the community. We still have murders between Millington and Elliott Street on South Columbus. We don't get the same police protection that the people on the other end get. We don't get the same fire protection. The water ends at 5th Street, so that when our buildings burn down, they burn down because there's not enough water. We've had 2 fires this year where an 80-year-old man jumped out of a 2nd-story window because there wasn't enough water to put it out. Not related to you, County Executive, but it's related to a pattern and practice of how Vernon Heights gets treated. So here's the issue here, is we had a beautiful preparation by the county with the memorandum of understanding that include tennis courts. Clinton Young had another design that kind of tilted this design differently. In the meantime, we built the tennis courts because we changed mayors. We take down the stands because we changed mayors. But the tennis courts brought in 400 users a week. And they came from all over the county. And there could have been, because I know because I'm president of Neighbors That Care, we were going to have a Neighbors That Care Neighborhood Tennis Association registered with the United States Tennis Association. We would have been funded for tennis in all of the schools with Mr. Keela teaching tennis to our staff to get our kids up and running the way they do with the ASH program in Queens. So what am I saying there? Is there a design where you could turn it a different way because now we don't have all of the barriers with the seating that used to be there, and figure out how you get the 8 lanes, because 8 lanes brings 1,000 people to a track meet. Okay, it's not just the value of tennis, it is the value of 8 lanes of track. Okay, I got in trouble with the city school district when I was president there because we were arguing to put back the Penn State plaques on the wall.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Black George, followed by Ray Hollingsworth Fellow.
Good evening, panel.
Good evening.
To everybody attending this forum. I just want to basically say Memorial Field, I'm a lifelong resident of Mount Vernon as well. I'm 41 years old. And I can remember as a kid being at Memorial Field in the park, playing the camps, the Razorbacks, everything. And it saddens me that it's been so long that this field has not been up and running, okay? It's heartache, okay? And not only to me, I'm sure to everybody else, you know, that's lived here in Mount Vernon and enjoyed the field that it was up. But as far as like the infrastructure, like, it should remain the same. It should be historical. It's a historical place, so the structure should be as it was. All right. Not only that, but I agree with everybody talking about the skate park. The skate park will definitely. I see these young children riding in the street, using the islands in the street to direct traffic as tools to do tricks on. You know, and there's kids walking by, there's traffic. It's dangerous for them out there. So they need a place to go in the skate park. I remember, I think it was about 2013, we all went down to Memorial Field. I believe Vernon Davis was the mayor at the time. And I believe Jamie Pesson was there actually talking about the skate park as well. And it was highly considered, and I think it was even implemented in the plans of Ernie Davis's plans of keeping the infrastructure of the field, the original infrastructure, and also implementing the skate park in the field. We all thought it was a great idea, and we was hoping to look forward to that happening. I don't know what happened, but that didn't happen, okay? So here we are today. I agree, I'm not feeling that plan at all right? I don't think this is just, I'm sure it will be advanced, as you said, but keep the infrastructure of the original field. Keep the skate park idea, make it reality, okay? The little small park that's right next to it's like in between, I'm not even sure what that block is, but it's right on it's right outside the tennis courts. Well, it used to be tennis courts until that was brought down for whatever reason. I have no idea. But the park that was in the back, I'm sorry. The park that was in the back, that was a great park for the kids to be in also. You know, I worked for a recreation department. We was in that park every day. We whacking, trying to get everything. I mean, stuff was this high, man. You know, so we got that place looking like a park again.
Okay. And I've got to ask you to complete your thought. If you want to share anything else in writing, we're happy to have it. We're going to repeat the email address again, communications@westchestergov.com, and you can amplify any of the thoughts you shared tonight.
Just take everybody's been giving good ideas and good suggestions to you guys.
And I want to recap all the ideas when we finish with the last speaker.
Please take them into consideration.
Okay, Mr. George Stein, let's go get to the next speaker. Thank you much. Next speaker is Roy Hollingsworth.
Okay, resident in Mount Vernon, on my house. My wife and I ran that track many years. Both of my children played Razorbacks in that track. What I'd like to see for Memorial Field is some of the other speakers have echoed at least 10,000 person seating on Memorial Field so that it can be used as a premier track location as well as other venue for events. Mount Vernon needs an anchor landmark to attract folks to Mount Vernon. The folks there's no reason why the real estate prices and the market value on the south side should be low as they are. The south side of Mount Vernon is a fantastic location, one of the best locations in Westchester County and near the city. It's ideal for cars, it's ideal for public transportation, it's near the New York City subway, it's near Metro North as well. And if you have a landmark attraction like a revised Memorial Field that has at least 10,000 seats that can be used for track and field, as the gentleman said, or football or bigger events, then that would be fantastic. If it can be incorporated to have a skate park and tennis courts like other people have said, I don't know if that's possible. I'll let the architects determine whether the space is possible for that. But if you have at least one type of event like a professional track that can be used and then also use it for events, I think that would be the best use for Memorial Field. It would add revenue to the city. It would allow folks right now who are walking, people who want to run or walk, they're going to Pelham, they're going to Bronxville, they're going to New York City. You know, every week I'm running the streets of Mount Vernon, and I used to run on that track. And so I think that the focus should be to create a memorial field that can have at least 10,000 people there who can sit and use it for the track and use it for events.
Thank you. If anyone else wishes to speak, we have no cards waiting for us. We're happy to have additional people speak while we have time. So please, if you'd like to speak. I'm sorry. Janet, you want to speak now? Is that what I understand? You want to speak, Janet? Councilwoman Janet Duarte.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the county executive, county legislator, and Mr. Councilmember from Woodard Curran, Legislator Tubiolo, our city officials, obviously, and everyone here from the county for having this forum and having the opportunity for our public to share their thoughts and concerns. Just one thing that just to kind of pull together, because we've heard a lot of requests, a lot of needs of the community, and it's clear that in a city like ours, we don't have a facility for our youth. We don't have a youth center, we don't have a community center for them to have that outlet and that opportunity. Given all of the options that a lot of the community members have expressed and requests, it's clear that it's also an expression of what we don't have, and that's at the community center. If we can, going forward, as we develop those designs, I want to just add on to what Mr. Clark's comment was earlier about having a committee, but including our commissioners, like our Recreation Commissioner, our Youth Bureau Executive Director, DPW for logistics, but specifically to the commissioners who are in the front line of our community needs and providing the programs for our youth. And having their input is vital, especially when we're trying to prioritize what our greatest needs are and what we can bring to this facility. And my final one thing I do want to express, and I have expressed before, I have expressed it to the Board of Legislators, and I want to put it here as my opportunity to share it now with the county executive, that the county step up and also assist us with that remediation action plan and implementing that plan. It's clear that the county has a good track record. You have demonstrated, especially now being an active partner that we didn't have before, that we can really get this done. And the only obstacle now is being able to complete that remediation to get it into that stage that Mr. Councilmember shared with us, which is actually bidding and implementing the design plan. So I just want to reiterate that and thank you again for being a son of Mount Vernon and being a partner in this process. Thank you.
I'm still waiting anyone else who wants to sign a card to speak. We certainly have a little more time left here, and we're happy to do it. So far, what we've heard, we certainly have heard a number of people that have argued for tennis on the property, and a number of people that have argued for a skate park on the property. We have heard a strong ask for additional seating. Some have put a number to it, 10,000, which is about 4 times what this plan shows. Others have just said generically more seating. There has been just most recently a comment about a youth center. We've also heard about cricket and baseball and the parking issues that exist there. And that's the purpose of this meeting, is to hear these inputs. While we're waiting for the next speaker, let me just mention that when I came into office 15 months ago, we scheduled a meeting within the first 3 months, about a year ago, where I asked the members of the city council, the mayor, to come to the county and talk about where we were at Memorial Field and how we move this thing forward. you have a unique situation in Mount Vernon, which no other municipality has. You have an elected mayor, which is a strong mayor form of government, separate and distinct from the city council, and also an elected controller. No other community in Westchester County has 3 separate sets of elected officials, each of whom have distinct authority. And while the mayor has certain powers structurally, the controller has certain powers, and of course the council has certain powers. So getting unanimity on these things is never easy under the best of circumstances. And in this particular case, it's pretty obvious that there's some very different uses that people want at this park. We've heard speakers say we want the track. We've heard other people say we want a skate park and we want tennis. Now, Anthony's job with his team is to look at the design and determine how much of that can be done in the same area, particularly if the goal is to have a full football field in the middle of it, which is the biggest single use of it, and that could also be used for soccer and lacrosse and those types of sports. So I just want to highlight something that has happened, discussed here tonight. I went back to the original 2009 plan. Why? Because there have been so many different proposals for this place over those years. And we've had different decision makers in charge. We've had 2 other county executives before me and 2 other mayors before your current mayor. And so which plan do I pick? Do I pick, county executive A, B, or C, mayor A, B, or C? Well, I went back to the beginning. And that's what this plan is. This is the original plan that was put out by, again, County Executive Spanner, Mayor Young. We, the people of Mount Vernon, and the elected officials of the city of Mount Vernon, elected officials of the county of Westchester, can change this plan in whatever way is necessary. But the people of Mount Vernon have to understand, if you've heard what I heard tonight, you heard a lot of different things, all of which cannot be done at the same time. If you do in fact want a place for 10,000 seats, you may not have the space to do some of the other things you want. Memorial Field is not a limited size space. And so there are choices to be made. And once those choices are made, it is assured that somebody in the room is going to be unhappy. And that's what has to be worked through the discussions ahead. So I share that with you only to be realistic about what can be done. The final point I want to make, and we do have another speaker who's willing to speak, is that the dollars are not unlimited to work with. We understand, I've always shared, that the original financing of 12.7 is clearly not going to be enough to do everything we need to do with the remediation involved, and if in fact we do some additional things that we're talking about tonight. The county's commitment is not to let the money get in the way of the movement of the plan. That doesn't mean that at the end of the day the county will pay for all of it, but it does mean that in the sequence of getting a plan in place and then starting to implement it, we won't say, we're not going to do anything until you do this other thing. That means that we'll be 4 years from now with another new county executive or whatever sitting here trying to go back over the same old grounds. So my intent is, to the greatest extent possible, and this is subject to the approval of the Board of Legislators, they are distinct and separate set as decision makers at the county level, to go back at some point in time very soon with this plan or a modified version of this plan, in whatever way the consensus is, and then move that plan forward to design, to bid, to do those things that can be done as soon as possible, regardless of the remediation, to get the remediation done, and when the remediation is done, the money's been set aside, it's been bonded, to see construction go on down there. But I share with you, if you've heard what I've heard tonight, you've heard conflicting uses at the park that are mutually exclusive. You're not going to be able to do all of the things that have been requested tonight in the same square area, so something will have to give. And we went back to the original plan because to this point, no other plan has been implemented. There's been plans, there's been discussions. People may have said, I like this plan, I don't like that plan, but there's been no construction started. There's been no bonding that's enabled us to start any of these other theories. So we go back to the beginning. That's where we are tonight. If we're going to change it, then that's going to be discussion. The decision makers are the people who are in office today, and we go forward from there. I want to just clear that so everybody's understanding on the same page. And the next person who wishes to speak is Jamie Pesson.
Thank you for your time. Thank you to everybody that can hear my voice. My name is Jamie Pesson, and I waited till the end because a lot of people say a lot of comments that I agree with. So I just want to add, and I agree with a lot of things that I've heard, and I also understand that we can't have it all. I do hope that whatever is discluded could be considered for our second project, because we don't want Memorial Field to be the project that we work on for the rest of our lives, and hopefully there are future projects that the county will work on with us, because this sounds like the beginning of a great relationship. What I didn't hear, but I have heard, handball courts. We're very close to New York City, and I want to compete with some of our neighbors. You know, I really like playing handball. But even more than just building a handball court that I think is a low-cost solution and still fulfills a need for a sport that is competitive, I think that we should put a very great mural on the front and the back of that handball court. I really like what Mayor Thomas did, which is the wall of local celebrities that are on the fence on the outside Memorial Field. And I believe that when we build this stadium, that we should truly, number one, honor the veterans that the Memorial Field was built to honor, but also honor elected officials that have taken up the mantle of leadership, local celebrities like Dick Clark, and let's name 1,000 others. We should definitely tell our story with this field. And one suggestion in how we can do that, aside from coordinating with the Art and Culture Comprehensive Plan and putting art intentionally in the park, in visual areas, New Rochelle has a park. I'm not sure where, but it's by the high school, I believe, near a McDonald's. And there are bricks, and those bricks were purchased by people in the community, and those bricks were installed into the floor of that park, and it possibly helped pay for that park. So in addition to the money that Mount Vernon will give, in addition to the money that the county will give, in addition to the money that grants will give, let our community put their money where their mouth is and purchase a brick on behalf of a passed away loved member, or themselves, or a community organization, or a for-profit business. Because one thing I know about those bricks, I've seen them for 10 plus years, and they'll probably be here for 100 years, and you get to walk there and say, my dad bought a brick. I'm from this community, my dad raised me here, he bought a brick 50 years ago. Look, it's right there in the ground. So I just want us to remember that this is a memorial field, and I want us to treat it as such and adorn it appropriately.
Thank you very much. If there's anyone else who wishes to speak, we still have access to the room for a little while longer. I do want to point out that you see there's at least 2 television cameras that are taping our discussions tonight. I know that Carl Pagano from the county is taping this, and this will be available on the Facebook page for Westchester County Government. So you'll be able to see it tonight. You can look at it again, see what the speaker said. We can share it out there through the internet and social media. And the additional taping that's being made, I assume, will be made available in some fashion on local cable TV. Is that what's going to appear? Okay, yeah, when the whole program's over. I do want to mention one other point, which I didn't mention when I talked about the competing interests in here. The ability to partner between the city and the county exists beyond Memorial Field if we choose to do so. So when I hear people saying we need a skate park, and we need tennis courts, and we need a football field, which obviously you need a certain size for that, and we need other things. There's nothing that stops us from having to do every single one of these things in Memorial Field. The county owns a significant piece of land called Wilson Woods. And in Wilson Woods, there's the possibility of the county and the city partnering for additional services in Wilson Woods if that is determined to be the right thing to do. Now, since the county owns Wilson Woods, we're in a different position in terms of what we can pay for and require the city to have to pay for. We in many places have parks available on a county-owned facility, which is accessed by the people who live in that local community because they're proximate to it. So for those who look at the park, when I say you can't get it all in one field, that's true for every single one of these things. That does not preclude us from talking about some other location that could be one of these functions. I think we all pretty much understand that the size of a football field needs a memorial field to be at. So that's sort of the rock-solid base of what's going to happen here. But then beyond that, there's ancillary uses that's certainly possible. I remember when I grew up here as a kid, the premier place to play basketball, if you had game, was the 4th Street Playground. Hartley Park was the next most prominent place to play. And if you had the game that I had, which was not existent, we played at Grove Street, down off of South Bleecker and South High Street. And when you go there, you sit and watch the games at Hartley Park and 4th Street. If you wanted to play, you got to go to Grove Street. So there are different parks for different purposes in the city, and we may yet have a conversation with the city council, mayor, and talk about other opportunities if we don't feel we can get everything into Memorial Field. Because we're not giving up on Mount Vernon here. We're invested in Mount Vernon. We're going to make this thing work. One way or the other, we're going to make this thing work. If anyone else wishes to speak, I am going to ask you, I'm going to ask you to fill a card out so that we have your name, because you're going to be on TV. So if you get the card, we're more than happy to have you speak, but we want the card so we can track who you are. And we're certainly willing to wait. Anybody, this would be a good time now, because we'll probably, if we don't have any more speakers, we probably will close off the hearing. So I would ask if anybody else now, and this is like that point in the wedding, speak up now, or this is it. If you do want to say something, please do it now. If not, then we'll take whoever's the last speaker to. We have one more speaker. This young lady is going to speak. And then if there is anybody else, if not, this will be the last speaker. Okay? There's one more after you. There's one more after her, and that'll do. Okay. All right, very good. I don't have a card, but tell me your name.
Laverne Johnson.
I'm sorry?
Laverne Johnson.
Laverne Johnson. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Resident of Mount Vernon. And I just really have a question that I'd like an answer to. What is the cutoff date for people that wish to put in writing at the email address?
Right. We have not established a cutoff date. I think the practical reality is that the remediation plan, as it looks like now, once we know how it's going to be funded, there's an agreement between the city and the state DEC. By the way, either Mr. Mayor or members of the council correct me if I'm making a statement here, because it's a city-state discussion. There has been an agreement to the plan, but there hasn't been a financing to the plan, and we'll all have to have a conversation about how that happens. But once the plan is underway, it's going to take us the better part of 6 months to actually do the remediation. So we're not in a situation where we're going to be breaking ground tomorrow. So I would say at least 30 days is a reasonable amount of time for you to comment. And I think, we obviously have to get this out to more than just the people in the room, but 30 days would be reasonable. Now, you also have your county legislators, Lyndon Williams and David Tubiolo, who take information at all times, and your members of the city council who are here, and the mayor, who are also available to hear your comments. So I would say, without having made an official decision, this is the beginning of April. Let's say by the end of April, April 30th, we would like all the comments to be in.
Okay. Thank you all very, very much for this opportunity to hear the public through either the spoken word tonight or otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And unless there's anyone else who wishes to speak, Greg Wallace will have the last word. Mr. Qualls, help me pronounce your name properly.
Yes, it's Wallace. Thank
Wallace.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any way that we could go back to the original blueprints from, I think, the year Warrenfield's constructed was 1930s, or I'm not quite sure what year, but if we could go back to the original plans, it answers everything. We have tennis courts, we have paddleball courts, we have the tracks, we have 2 bleachers, one on the left-hand side for the visitors, one on the opposite side for the citizens for games. And then behind that, there was another field that we can utilize for any of the newer sports that have developed over the years. So if we could do that, that would answer everything. There's enough room for everything, actually. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We make a point to look for the 1924 plans. I presume that those 1924 plans cover the same square area that we have today. If that is true, then we'll take a look at those plans and go from there. Final call. Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none. We're going to thank all of those who are here. I'm going to invite our county legislators and our mayor to get any final words they'd like to share. Lyndon Williams, county legislator.
Thank you, County Executive. First of all, let me thank all of you for coming out. It's important
Mount Vernon is your community, is our community, and it's great that we have a county executive who is from Mount Vernon and who can understand that. I think this was a very productive meeting. I believe we've heard a lot of, and this is what it's about, to really get people to say what it is that you'd like to see there and have this kind of open discussion. I think that this is a process that continues to move. As the county executive indicated, there are plans in place. Woodard and Curran, they're not volunteering, right? So they've got to get this work done. It's cost money to get it done, and so they're going to continue to build the plans. Your comments are going to be taken into account to the extent they can be incorporated. They will, but there's going to be an open process. That's the idea. They're going to be an open discussion, open process. You can email any of us with any comments, and so that we can respond to you. Thank you very much for coming up, and thank you for caring about Mount Vernon. This is a great place, and we've got greater things to get accomplished, Memorial Field being one of them. God bless.
Just again, I want to say thank you to the county executive for ensuring that we continue to keep at it and never give up. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and the right thing to do is to make sure we build back and bring back Memorial Field stronger than ever before. There is a way possibly to find more room, but it's going to come through more dialogue, through some more creativity, and I'm confident that we're going to figure it out. But as details become available on the cleanup process, there are some hard choices ahead. It will cost real time and real dollars to deal with the mountain of challenges that are there, but we're going to get through it. And I just again want to thank our county legislator, Lyndon Williams, our county legislator, Tubiolo, our county executive for making sure that we keep it together and we keep it focused. And also I want to thank the council for staying at the table with all of us, because this is important. This is bigger than just, one person. It's our city, it's our kids, it's our future, and this is what it's going to take to get it all back for them. So thank you all for staying with it, and let's just keep going forward no matter what. Thank you, everybody.
Just want to thank everyone for being here, not just us elected officials, and solely, but all of you. If it's not for you, we wouldn't be here, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'll be here a little later. If you want to speak to me, please come up. I'll give you my card. If you have any questions, email me, call me. I'm always willing to listen. I heard, as the county executive mentioned, a few things about the skateboard park potentially, and also tennis and a few other things. Please, communicate those issues or concerns. I'm always more than willing to listen. Thank you. And also, thank you, Legislator Lyndon Williams. Always a great resource on the board, and our other colleagues on the City Council, from the members of the council, the mayor, and executive, everyone here. Thank you.
So I want to say that I'm pleased that we've had this kind of public participation in this discussion. I know that the county executive says that the opportunity to input will extend for another 30 days or so. And might I suggest that we perhaps do maybe like a survey monkey to encourage others and greater participation, and have that shared on both the county side and on our city side, to encourage greater participation and input from those who are not in the room this evening. I'm really pleased that we're all here. I'm pleased that the conversation is continuing. And again, if we are intentional about our goal, about restoring Memorial Field to the community, then I have no doubt that we will get it done. So thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and all the elected officials that are here. I'd like to thank the county exec for taking this on and moving the city forward with this project. It's been a long time. So I'm looking at this to be finally done. I want to see it done before I die. Now, this project, I see we took a lot of input. I wrote down a whole bunch of things with the more seats, the parking concerns, additional lanes, the biking, the skateboard, the committees, the tennis, even the cricket, which I agree with 100%. I think a lot of these things can be incorporated. It's just how we do the design. I think when I take a look at Memorial Field and try to get the track in there, we have a tennis center that's in there that is very, very useful to the city. I really want to see tennis there because that's one of the top sports in the world. I want to see soccer, more emphasis on soccer. I want to see our Razorbacks having that. I think we can fit almost all of this in there if we sit down and do it right. So it's going to take a lot of planning. I guess Woodard Curran has a lot of work to go back and think about. But the input is very important because finally we get to hear what you want, which is important. It's something that can fit everybody's needs. Is very important. Not only what the elected officials want and what some folks want, but what the community wants and what the community needs, because this is the community's park and facility. So I'm very happy to see this particular forum. I look forward to seeing us do this more often and have more conversations, more dialogue, so that we can wrap this up and really get this done, where everybody is very, very happy. And regarding the part of having a youth facility there, that's possible too. Because as I look at the tennis center, there is a building there that can be built up another floor, that you can do many things on top of that. You can have lots of stuff going on in that same spot. So it's something that we need to talk about and look at because that can be incorporated as well. If you really take a look at this whole overall picture. So that's all I'm going to say. But it's very important. And my belief, I think that almost everything we talked about tonight and what we heard can be incorporated into that. So let's see how we can do it. That's a challenge that I look forward to seeing you guys take on and make it happen. Thanks a lot. God bless everybody who came out tonight. We hear you, and we're going to move forward with what your plans are and what you had input tonight.
And our final thank yous tonight, first of all, to Anthony Catalano and the people at Woodard Curran, who will have the challenge now to dialogue with us on these things and determine exactly how you look at this square area, what can and can't be done realistically. So we appreciate your involvement, to all the elected officials, the mayor, members of the city council who are here, your involvement with partners in this, and we move forward as friends and as partners. To my colleagues in the county legislature, their leadership here representing this community is critical. I mentioned earlier, I just mentioned again, because as I said, there could be unpaid overtime here. Ken Jenkins, our deputy county executive, Hugh Grecian, commissioner of DPW, John Noner, our county attorney, and also Catherine Chaffee, our head of communications. Joe Scamato is with us here tonight. Chelsea Pagano has been here as well. Steve Bass is part of our team. Crystal Collins, a Mount Vernon girl on our team. Andrew Ferris is with us here as well. I see Tracy Thompson-Smith is with us tonight, part of our team. Diane Atkins is here. Mondaire Jones from the law department is with us as well. Thank you, Mondaire. Have I missed anybody else? Carper going to be on the camera. If I missed anybody else, it was not intentional. This just shows you how many people we wanted to be here tonight so we can fully hear what people have to say. Generally speaking, it's been a long time since I lived in Mount Vernon, although I did grow up here, born in Mount Vernon Hospital and all that. Generally, when I'm in Mount Vernon, I usually take a sentimental journey once through on my way home before I head north elsewhere in the county. And I usually take a swing by Grimes, and I remember old Grimes, not the new Grimes that's theirs now. I go past my parents' house on South 14th Avenue. And I think we all owe a debt, as the mayor said, we all owe a debt to the remembrances that we've had. Even if you only lived in Mount Vernon a couple of years, we owe a debt to that Mount Vernon. And my intent, as long as I'm county executive, is to repay that debt